morning. Listen, about 4 times. I just was trying not to let you on, but we in here. Good
Yeah.
morning.
Good
So
morning.
refreshed for this self-care Saturday.
Yes.
This show, this self-care Saturday.
I,
How are you doing?
I'm good. Good. Glad to be having a morning conversation. I like a good girl talk.
You do. You know what's really crazy before we get into it? It just took me back probably, I feel like Latorsha, it's been 3 years since we did our big IG self-care chat.
Yeah.
And that was my first live ever. And I was so
Oh.
nervous. I was like, I'm not doing any lives. And you were like, yes, we're going to do this live. And so
Yeah.
look at how things come full circle. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to jump into this thing today. I'm not going to hold it too long as people coming in. People DM me, and some people are really excited about this conversation that we're going to have. So I'm going to welcome everybody to the IG I Choose Me live takeover. This is round 3. I have Miss Latorsha Peak. She is also the host. Are you still doing the podcast? Can I say that?
Yes, yes. The final season, but it's going to be 5 years. The archives are deep. There are plenty of episodes out there. So the podcast going to stay up. Even if it's
Okay.
not new episodes, you go listen. It's something
Okay.
there for you. We don't talk about everything through the
Yes, you
years.
have. I see you, Jazz, in there. She just popped in. That is my girl, Live Love Tank. So, like I said, you still got the
Hmm.
podcast. It's going to be evergreen, I guess, now because it's going to be 5 years. Wow, Latorsha, 5 years.
Girl, yes.
So this one is emotional. I prayed before jumping on this one with you because, like I said, this is full circle.
Yeah.
This is big. This is big, Latorsha. I actually got a little tearful, and
Don't do that.
I did because you know what? I want you to have your flowers. Before we even get deep into this, I want people to understand the love I have for you. And I don't, you haven't gotten your book yet, but you ordered it. But I'm going to read something to you.
Uh-oh.
And Latorsha, it's not to make you emotional. It's just because I believe that you should have your flowers in real time, see my face, because we're nowhere near each other right now. But I want you to hear this, and I want it to be documented. I'm doing something really big about doing things in real time, and I just been really feeling that on my spirit. Everything I've been doing about this book launch or whatever you want to call it is everything's happening in real time because I feel like at some point this is going to come back and I'm going to review this, but I want you to have this in real time. So I didn't tell you, you are in my acknowledgments of my book.
Oh man.
And I dedicated a section to you, but I'm going to read it
Mm-hmm.
now on live, okay? Don't you get
Ooh,
emotional over there, okay?
because I ain't got no tissue. Oh Lord, don't do that.
Because people don't know. We've been friends for over 20 years.
A
You know what I
long
mean?
time.
It goes
Yes.
back. To Latorsha, our friendship and sisterhood has evolved over 2 decades. Your support in helping me find my voice through podcasting has changed my life. Using my voice has helped me transform other women's lives as well. Thank you for being the person I needed when I was in some of my darkest moments. You have instilled the importance of self care. Listen, I wouldn't have a podcast if it wasn't for you, right? My podcast has been out 3 years. I reached out to you and I said, hey, I need to do this podcast thing. Tell me how to do it. And from that point, it became a launching board. And I'm grateful to you. I want people to understand that our friendship our friendship transcends years.
Yeah.
And so now that I didn't got myself, because we don't do too much emotion, but I really wanted that to be for you for a replay so you can have, because I believe in people having their flowers in real time. I went through a lot of death and dying, and some things I wish I could have said to my family member that died. And so sometimes it's best giving people what they need to hear in real time. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful to you. And one, I'm grateful to be sharing this space now with you as my book is launched because you had your own book be launched too. Prioritize your self care. So you the woman on this. This is what we're doing. Okay. So now that I did all the emotional stuff, let's do the thing. So this is the I Choose Me takeover. I have Miss Latorsha Peak coming through. She's a health coach. She's also a fellow nurse, and she gives people how to prioritize their self-care. She has a podcast. She has a book. Everything she talks about is about self-care, and she really, really believes in that. So Latorsha, I already told the people why I chose you. I've already read my acknowledgments to you. Tell the people more about you that they don't know.
Oh wow. You know, I think one of the biggest things that about me is I'm pretty laid back. I love um far as the work in self-care and choosing yourself and things like that, I love a good intimate conversation and the ability to talk about the things that we don't often talk about out loud. So many things that we're going through, like we think we're alone, but we're really not alone, but we feel like we have to hide those, go into that deep space and just hide it. So I love having those conversations, and I love connecting with people. I am. I'll give you all the the behind the scenes stuff. So I'm married. I've been married like the numbers get so high now. I'd be like, what year is it? But going on 22 years. I have a 16-year-old son. Janine came and seen my son days after he was born. She brought me food, to help me out, and she's been looking out for me for a long time. Been in a nursing profession for a long time, but I think, and I'm not a very religious person. Like I can't recite the Bible and all that stuff, but I enjoy the spiritual, just the energy and things like that. So those are just a few tidbits about me.
And that's a lot in itself. So, Latorsha, we always talk about things, and what's your word of the year?
My word of the year is closure for 2024. And I think that even kind of goes with some of the things you even talked about with us, like how things go full circle. So I'm really in a space where I'm looking at life and things that I've gone through and things that have happened to me, things that I've healed from. And I'm like, okay, God, I hear you. It's like, you're not going to keep holding that back anymore. It's time to close the door on that thing and move into this season that I'm calling you to for now. I'm not exactly what that looks like, but where he called me, I'm a follow.
I do know. I do know. It's hard out here
Yeah.
because, like I said, people don't know. I was never doing lives. I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. And I'm out here doing all types of stuff. So, my word of the year this year is expansion. And,
Mm.
I'm always talking about eagles and how their wings need to expand. But I really feel like expansion means a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
Expanding my territory, but also building community to a level, embracing my gift of my voice. I struggled with that for a long time of being out in the front. A lot of people are nervous to be in the front because you can sometimes, I wouldn't say backlash, but it's hard to be in the front sometimes because you are the most vulnerable. I guess that's the best way to say it. And now that I'm stepping into this I Choose Me movement from just all the things I've endured, and that's why I'm saying it like that, because some of the really, really deepest things. I'm proud to say turning 40 in December was for me my expansion. I closed the chapter, but I also closed the decade, and I'm walking into something that's great. And I see God putting something on me, but I'm also embracing it because I struggle with that. I was like, you ain't talking to me. You ain't talking about me about this podcast. Like I struggle in everything. Like, it's
Yeah.
truth. You be like, girl, you're good. I'm like, no, I'm not. And so I want somebody who is going through things to just step out of their comfort zone
Mm-hmm.
and just understand that when you follow his voice, he will make room. Your gift will make room for you. And I think that's going to be really key for somebody that keeps going.
Yeah. And I want to insert here, because you've mentioned a couple of times that you didn't go live before. And I know for a fact, one of the things that I would tell you, I was like, Janine, ain't nobody checking for you, like ain't nobody looking for you. But in all that full circle type of moments, people are now checking for you, Janine.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be just online, it may be on the podcast, it may be through your book, but they checking for you. And it started with that moment to reach out there. So I'm not gonna be like, Janine, ain't nobody looking about you because you answered the call and you like, somebody out there needs you. They like, what Janine talking about? How can I work with her? Even through your professional career as well in healthcare, like they checking for you, Janine.
Girl, we were stop. I'm about to have a full emotional moment here. I try not to keep tear. Yeah. Oh, that's so good, Latorsha. I received that. So let's jump into this next thing. What does I choose me mean to you?
Oh, wow. I think the most important moments that I really feel I choose me are in those moments where you feel like you should be choosing everything else over yourself. During those, whether it's the kids, relationships, work that is overwhelming and you feel everything pulling at you. Those are the moments that you have to dig deep and choose yourself. Those are, I think, really, it's easy to choose yourself when you're doing something like, let me go get my hair done, let me go get my nails done. But in those moments of overwhelm where you stop, take a deep breath, and you're like, I'm gonna choose me. I'm gonna choose me. So I think, like I said, there's a lot of areas you can decide to choose yourself on, but I think those are the ones that we really need to dig into. Those tough moments, those tough conversations, and it's like, hey, there's something that I need in this moment, and I'm gonna choose myself here.
Mm. Ooh, okay. So the next question is, have you ever felt like you were lost, like you lost yourself in life or love? Have you ever felt like you've been in a space of trying to regain who Latorsha was?
Absolutely. I think that's where I'm kind of at now. um, despite, I believe truly that, at least from my experience, a lot of the work that we do and that we're helping other people through, that is also work for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the things that I've done through the years wasn't just about the people that I was helping, it was about myself as well. And a little backstory, when I mentioned before, like even just when I started the podcast, my son was 11 years old.
Wow.
My life looked so much different. So I'm entering into a new season. He's a junior in high school now. He's driving, doesn't need me as much as he used to. And so for all of that time, I used, particular time, I was like, oh my God, I don't have time. What am I supposed to do with myself? How can I, well, not what can I do for myself, but like, you never had time for yourself. And now I'm like,
Got a lot of time.
you don't need me to drive you nowhere. Well, no, he got his own car. He can drive his own thing. So that's why I think it's important that we don't bury ourselves in our kids, or especially the kids, because I know that's a big thing. Because one day these kids grow up, and you're gonna be looking around, and you're like, what is it that I like to do? Who am I? Like, what's this new thing out there? So
Yeah.
so that's just one example of being lost. And I'll just touch a little bit on relationships. Again, I've been married almost 22 years. Marriages has, for me, has its ups and downs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think in those moments, those conversations that we don't have with trusted people, we think we're the only one that's going through a particular issue. So those are times that I have felt lost as well. So you have to find like-minded people, pray to God. You got to get that out, because otherwise you'll feel like you've fallen down a hole where you're the only one. Ain't nobody else knows what you're going through, but they do.
Suffering in
Yeah.
silence. I think that's so good. As I look back, like people know I am divorced. That's one of the biggest things I talk about is my divorce, but also losing a child.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk about the ebbs and flows of my professional path and how it impacted me in burnout. But really, looking back on relationships, even if it's not a love relationship, it could be family relationships, but just suffering in silence. And I think sometimes people don't have those tough conversations. And I feel like at this stage of the game, using my voice, that's what I've been able to shed light into,
Mm-hmm.
because I recognized through the podcast that there were so many people that were suffering in silence but not saying anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then I recognized that's how I had to keep going with the podcast, because at first, I struggled the first few months. I was like, this is not what I'm called to do. But it also shows consistency, because when you continue to show up,
Mm-hmm.
every 2 weeks, girl, every 2 weeks, I got over 83 episodes. Every 2 weeks I was on there, showing up, whether I felt good, whether I was depressed, whether whatever. And that goes to show that we do have to embrace the peaks and valleys of life, and that life will never be just like this. And embracing the joyful moments in that,
Yeah.
because so much we can learn in that. I mean, when I was really in the mud, like I learned so much about who Jineen was. Like you said, when your child is now getting older, doesn't need you as much. But it was when I really dug and said, what do I like to do? What is
Yeah.
Jineen like without all my titles? That's what saved
Mm-hmm.
me. Because now I'm not connected to all the things I can do for people, but learning who I am versus what I do was a groundbreaking thing. And I think that can help people out in any area of their life, depending on where they are. So that's so good, Latorsha. I think that's really good. And you're showing people also that it's okay that we've lost ourselves. Like, I think some people feel like it's so uncommon, but it's so common. It's so
Mm-hmm.
common. But it's about regaining, like finding yourself again. Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. absolutely. And it's growth because life changes. You know, you always talk about, you tell the story about the caterpillar to the butterfly. I mean, those are stages. That's still one being, but they had to go through all these different stages. So, and that can, as we know, can be uncomfortable.
So uncomfortable, but you know what, but necessary. And that's one thing I learned through my process, that it was so necessary. And I appreciate each step I was in. I appreciate being in the caterpillar stage. I appreciate when I was in the cocoon phase. And now expansion also is the wings of me busting out the cocoon. I think when me and you talked on your podcast, we talked about not I think we were talking about in relation to kids, but not being enablers, not busting people out, not super
Yeah.
saving them. Okay. And so to me, when I talk about expansion, it's also expansion of the wings, of saying that now I'm ready to come out on my own. Nobody like crack me open. It's time. It's when you get to that point that you said, I'm ready to fly now. You know what I mean? And I'm now transitioning. And I think, like I said, when I hit my birthday in December, I felt like that was like my demarcation of boom, it's time.
Yeah.
But it made me rocky. And I think sometimes people feel, like I said, as me as an ex-perfectionist, that, you know, it has to be perfect every time. And so even for the book, it took me a while to even launch it, because I was like, this thing got to be so perfect and the cover got to be so. And I just got to a point, I said, why am I stuck in this space? Just put it out there, because who is going to be for is who is going to be for. And I actually did think about what you said, talking about nobody checking for you. I said, ain't nobody checking for this. I'm just put this thing out and it's going to come for the people that need me.
Right.
So I think that was crazy, because I did have that little voice in my head saying, girl, just put that thing out. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. That's good. All right. So we already kind of touched on this, but what's one thing you would go back and tell your younger self related to self-care and the things that you experienced?
Hmm. So I'm going to try to tie that into, I always answer this question. In general, I would go back and tell my younger self to dream bigger. Um,
Ooh, okay.
because like pretty much everything I dreamed of as a young girl, I've accomplished that. And I'm still, you know, I still got a lot of years left. I'm like, girl, you should have set the bar way higher than what you set it. So I would probably say that for self-care, I would go back and tell myself to really sit with yourself and what you need, and not be influenced by peer pressure, friends, things like that, because I think I kind of went into that mold some years of life, you know, like, well, let me
Mhm.
dress like them, or let me try to buy, you know, wear these fashions and things like that. So I think really lean into what I needed and what was important to me and things that I enjoy.
I love that. It's like being authentic and embracing your true
Yeah.
self.
Yep.
I think that was more so the basis of my book, and just talking about like how I've been a nurse since I was 17, but just all the high markers that I've hit for myself. But there's some pitfalls to that, and the peer pressure and all the things that it can do to your mental health, and leading you to burnout when you're trying to be like everybody else,
Yep.
but you also know that you're not meant to be in that box, and understand that it's okay to be different, and
Hmm.
people want you for you. Like when you show up and be vulnerable and be your true self, that's when people can, what's the word, they have more compassion for you, but they get to really know the true you.
Yeah. They
You know what I
relate to
mean?
you, you know?
Yeah, so relatable, you know?
Hmm.
And so I struggled in that, because I gave people what they needed at that time, meaning like the representative. You would get the
Yes.
representative of whatever I'm giving right there, right? But when people understood, wow, she's really a person behind there, and the vulnerability that I gave on the podcast and all those, people ended up knowing me on a deeper level, and was like, wow, I didn't even know you was going through all that. You just out here looking like a robot. Like, it's fine. And I'm like, no, it ain't fine. It's not fine. But that raw edge I have, I embraced it. Like I don't shy away from that. I am who I am, but
Hmm.
I'm learning how to be softer. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And be more open to people despite the challenges. I guess, if that's a nice way. But I love how you said that. Be your authentic self. Give
Hmm.
us 3 tips that you would give people about choosing themselves, but also about prioritizing their self care. Give us 3 tips, 3 takeaways.
Okay. So
And
the
Tia,
biggest thing is prior.
Tia in the building.
Oh, Tia, yes. I definitely would say prioritize your self care for the season that you are in.
Hmm.
Okay, because And be okay with admitting to yourself what used to work don't work anymore. I
Mm-hmm.
always use the example with kids because it's just kind of easy. When your child is an infant, you have to prioritize your self-care different than
Mm-hmm.
when they are in high school. Like, you shouldn't still be prioritizing the same way you had to then, so you have to shift. You have to go with the ups and downs, and realizing what used to work may not serve you as you grow. And
Mm-hmm.
that is
Mm-hmm.
really important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I guess this is all kind of tying in, but the second thing I would probably say is, and I talked about this on a podcast, I believe, but sometimes you have to upgrade your life just like you upgrade like your phone. They have these new updates or whatever. And sometimes you're like, what used to work ain't really working for me. How can I adjust? What do I need to do to reload? You know?
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
be willing to look at it. You like, oh, and we get into that rut, that routine. Get out of that routine. Don't be afraid to get out of the routine. And like you mentioned, Tia, and I haven't told her this yet, but she's actually was a motivation to me to change up my schedule and how my
Mm-hmm.
day was. I was such a routine person, and I started trying something different. I'm like, but I feel a little better. I actually go outside and look at the sun during the day and things like that. And then this one is kind of true to the season that I'm in. So I'm gonna throw this out there too, but also get friends that can meet your right now needs. And I know I talk about a little bit about friends in my book, and even since it's been out for a couple of years now, but I'm still evolving on what I probably would have put in that chapter if I were to write it again today. We get caught up in the friends that we've had forever,
Mm-hmm.
high school, college, and so we were in the same spaces all the time. But somebody moves away to another state, another country, we still holding on to that friend, as you should,
But in a
have
different
a
way.
place for them. But
Mm-hmm.
now you're in a space, you like, I don't have any friends. um, I now enjoy, planting a garden. Well, you never planted gardens with that friend. You need somebody that likes to plant gardens, maybe near where you live, where there's activity. So I feel like, especially the women that I talk to that have kids around my age, leaving the home and things like that, it's like you got to find a community for your right now, because what used to work, again, may not work right now. So I just had to throw that out there. Maybe it's for somebody. I don't
It
know.
was for me. I felt that because you know what, I'm always talking about letting go and how you need to let go of things that no longer serve you. And I don't really mean like let go of people, but it's like I used to be a hoarder of people because you're my
Yeah.
people and I got to keep you, but it's just embracing them at where they are, but letting them come in and out as need be.
Hmm.
Because I think sometimes we hold on to those past relationships and we want them to be exactly how they were when we were in them,
Hmm.
but we evolve. And so they may not hold that same space for us, but that doesn't mean we don't love them. It doesn't mean that we can't share space. It's just not the same space. And sometimes they're not meant to go with you. That was another thing
Hmm.
when I talk about closing chapters. And I think that was so surreal for me when I turned 40 in December. Like when I close a chapter, I close a chapter to a lot of people as
Yeah.
well, because I'm in rooms that now, like I said, I'm in communities that are like minded. But when I also was in my own mindset coaching, I learned there could be pods of people. It
Hmm.
doesn't have to be one set of people. And I think when we learn
Yeah.
that it could be pods, we serve them in a different way. So when I'm with my family, I'm not out here to tell them, you need to choose yourself. Listen to my podcast. Like when I'm with them, we're family.
Right.
Like when I'm with this group, we're doing this. And when I'm doing that, I'm doing this. So I think that's for somebody too, that you can have pods of people because your life is of different layers.
Yeah.
And so you can have people within the layers that you are, but you're still one person. So I think that's going to help somebody too, because I think we try to just bring all our old friends into our new friends and it may not mesh. Keep them where they need
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah. And I'll just add one more little point to that. Sometimes bringing, trying to stay connected and bringing those people along. Like, everybody's got a past life. You've got trauma. You've been through things like that. Sometimes when you're always with those people, it's kind of like you're always carrying that. But when you meet new people, they don't know nothing about that. It's light. It's like you don't have to go back and remind them about, this drama, update them on what's going. They don't even know about that. They don't ask you about that. They'd be like, "Can you want to smell these flowers over here?" He's like, "Yeah, I want to smell them flowers. was over there, you know.
Yeah. It's like you get to start anew. It's like a fresh start.
And
And
it's light.
I love
It's
that. Yeah.
light.
And
No,
it's,
no expectations, you know. It's like, you know.
mm,
Mhm.
I think that's good. And not having expectations on people. That was a lesson that I learned as well. It's just really having healthy boundaries for me and learning what feels good to me, but I don't have to put those expectations on people. They don't really need to know the expectations. It's just allowing people to be truly who they are. Because when people show you who they are, you just need to believe them,
Yep.
you know? And I don't really look always at what they say. I look at what they do, how they treat me, the energy that comes from what we're doing and the relationship that we have. And things will shift. And I think some people resent the shift. I can even say that in my, you know, I'm divorced, but in my marriage at that time, I shifted. And sometimes when you start shifting, people may not be able to understand the growth
Yep.
that you're having. And that could be friendships as well. But here we are,
Mm-hmm.
and it's okay. And once I got to the point and I said, and it's okay. I think it got to a point I was like, it's not okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Because it's all
And
release.
yeah. And I'll end with, definitely it's about choosing yourself in those moments that you need self. And it's so crazy. People think that they can't choose themselves for other people and things like that. But sometimes other people need you to choose yourself because that actually frees them.
Mm. Say that one more time. That's gonna be a that's a mic drop.
Honestly, sometimes people need you to choose yourself because it frees them. you
Mm.
know, yeah, whether they don't have to carry you anymore or that opens them up to go find new experiences elsewhere.
Mm. Ooh, oof, that's it. Listen,
Yeah.
that just sunk through my soul. So now we're gonna go ahead and do what I always been asking. Give me 1 to 2 songs that we gotta add to the I Choose Me playlist. What we talking about?
Oh, girl.
Whatever you want.
I'm trying to think. I feel like I don't got nothing. I love some India Ari. I
Mm-hmm.
definitely um she's a vibe.
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm
I know you used to say, I think you did a podcast episode like a year or two ago, and I think you said Girl on Fire.
oh yeah, Alicia Keys. I love that. The one and also the one she has that features Nicki Minaj.
Okay.
For me, that's like, I don't know, that's just the inner hype song or whatever. It's an oldie. I know for your younger people that's watching, they're like, girl, who is this? How old is she? But you know.
I like that. Listen. All right. Well, I got it down.
And
So go
my
ahead.
other one that I like, a lot of people haven't heard it before. It's an oldie. They're
Mm-hmm.
gonna be like, girl, that ain't even no song. But it's by Beyonce
Mm-hmm.
and it's called I Was Here.
I
It's
was here.
Yeah, if you've ever heard of it, listen to it when you get a chance. Let me know what you think. But I
I'm
don't know.
writing it down.
It just really takes me to a space and how I want people to know that I was here. I lived. I made an impact on their life, and that's what that song kind of talks about.
Building legacy. That's what we're out
Hmm.
here doing. I think our books, your podcast, like you said, even though you said you were closing chapters as far as this will probably be the last season,
Hmm.
but it will transcend. It is still evergreen and it is still
Oh
there.
yeah.
And it will be for the women that need it. Your book will still be an extension of you too.
Hmm.
Like I said, when I unboxed my proof of my book and read my dedication to my son, and he got to see my picture on there. But I talk about it's for him to have a piece of me when I'm not here anymore. And I talk
Hmm.
about him in my story because he asks me always about his other sibling. So it's a lot of things that he can have. And that's the same thing your podcast will be in your book for people to come, even when you are gone. So I really believe in building legacy.
Yeah.
And I'm just grateful that you shared this space. It was emotional in a positive way because it's full circle for us. People don't even know
Hmm.
like this really full circle. This is
Yeah.
really full circle. I'm proud
Yeah.
of the things you're doing. I'm proud of what you're going to be doing. I'm speaking life into you, whatever closure means for you. Um, I'm just proud of you. I've seen you transcend many layers over these two
Hmm.
decades. And whatever God has for you is still going to be as awesome as what you did then. And I just want you to keep going, whatever it is, whatever that looks like,
Yeah.
just keep going.
Yeah.
And as you say, prioritize your self care. So tell people how they can find you. What are you currently doing, or what are you wanting people to know about you to keep up with you?
Basically, you can follow me here on Instagram at Ice Coffee and Self Care, the podcast Ice Coffee and Self Care, and You can visit my website, latorshapeak.com. I'm not taking new clients at the moment, but you can get on the wait list, email me. We might be able to work something out for you. So,
Yes,
yeah.
because you're a health coach too. What do you health coach on? What's your area?
Essentially prioritizing self-care. We get together, we dig deep, we figure out what it is that you need, and we set up accountability. Get some realistic solutions, and we go to work so you can choose yourself.
Full circle, full circle. Well, thank you guys, especially for the people that's going to watch this on replay. This is Miss Latorsha Peak. She's doing big things over there. Make sure you follow her and reach out to her if you want some of her health coaching. We are on road to 100 pre-order books of my book, and we are almost at 50% of the goal. So I'm
Yay!
appreciative to everybody who's been doing that. And if you could share, that would be great. The website is called Buy, B-U-Y. So buyichoosemebook.com. Once again, buyichoosemebook.com. You can get your pre-order. The book comes out in February. People keep asking. It's coming out in February. If you already pre-ordered, look to see your book coming through in February. And I have Coach Jasmine. She was in the building, but she will be coming through. She's going to be talking about relationship intelligence. Okay, she's a relationship coach. She's a beast and she's a vibe. That comes out on January 30th. Me and her will be going live 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That'll be the last one of January. People have special requested for me to keep this going in February. So I'm going to try to figure out who I want to compile. So if you're somebody that's watching this on a replay and you want to be a part of the IG live takeover for February, then reach me out, DM me at Intentional Queen Journey. And that's it. The replays will be available on my YouTube channel, but it also will be available on my IG feed. And I appreciate you, Latorsha. We're going to get ready to get out of here and prioritize your self-care. Girl, you got to do your one line. I need to hear it one more time. Go ahead. This is not like you do the podcast. Please,
Oh
please, please.
God, I hope that you do something today for your own self-care.
There it is. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.